Hey everyone, I'm Laura Desirée. Make sure that you follow me on my OnlyFans at Laura Desiree VIP. And why not hit me up on social media at Laura X Desiree. We'll see you on Instagram and Twitter.
First, let's talk about the Hustler cover, centerfold for April 2023. How did that come up? How did all that?
It's not my first cover with Hustler, but it still feels just as exciting. It's my third time being featured on the cover of one of their publications. I had their anniversary issue just recently, as well as a cover of their kink and fetish magazine called Taboo. But this one's extra special because April is my birthday. And it all started with one of those beautiful sunny summer days where I had a creative shoot planned with my dear friend, photographer Ellen Stagg. We had this incredible location in upstate New York that was a flower farm. And I said, hey, let's get some really sexy lingerie and let's shoot this. And it was all on a whim that we submitted it to Hustler to see if they might be interested in buying the set and maybe just including it in some of their pages in the upcoming print. But we had no idea that this
Yeah.
thing was going to be featured so prominently. I mean, it's a 12-page spread with centerfold and cover. It's about as amazing as it gets.
When you do the initial set, are you going to shoot content? Are you going to shoot this with the hopes of just submitting it to different outlets and then somebody
Yeah.
bites?
Yeah, the idea is that, everyone model-wise seems to have fan platforms that they like to sell their content to directly. And so both myself and Ellen have our own content pages. And so the idea was to definitely go out there and shoot some sexy, gorgeous on-location content. But, then when we saw all of it come together and all of that magic, both within the location, the energy between all of us on set, and of course the wardrobing that we were working with, which was very very little by the end of it. We got down
Right.
to nothing, obviously. It's Hustler. But we said this would be really great, and we think that they would love it. I mean, Ellen, my God, she has been featured in that magazine. Her images have been multiple covers. She's got almost a decade of shooting for that magazine. So she knows what they like. And as this was happening, it was a very eureka moment where she said, Hustler's going to love this. We'll submit this to Hustler.
So from the original concept, I'm assuming there was a concept for the shoot to the finished. How much of your original vision, I guess, did you guys get, and were you happy with it? Was it more or less?
The entire concept was built around this location because all of us, makeup artist, Ellen and myself, we all live in New York or in Brooklyn where it's so much
Right.
concrete. And when we get together and do shoots, you might get a sun-drenched loft or a really cool exposed brick wall. But we were really inspired to kind of fuse nature's femininity in the form of the blossoming flowers and myself in this state of undress and kind of letting the petals of this lingerie come dropping
Right.
down. It was the original concept through and through, and that's what you're seeing in the magazine is our original dream, our fever dream of this scene.
Then when you submit to Hustler, they ask you to submit 100 photos and they choose the 20 best they like, or do you specifically pick 20 you want to submit and that's it?
Yeah, the way that I understand how selections happen is that I believe Ellen submits the entirety of the shoot. So, it's a couple hundred, if not more, images that get to be, selected from, and I'm pretty sure Ellen sends it all over, but I would have a hard time picking. I don't know how she picked what she did. I don't know how they picked what they did because, I haven't even seen the entire shoot, but I guarantee that there's every moment is magic. So I'd love to one day see the whole thing.
You as a model, do you have a preference to the fashion stuff, the nude stuff, any of it? Does it make a difference if it's explicit, not explicit?
When it comes to modeling, I need to feel inspired just as much as the rest of the team. I know that some models that go into experiences like photo shoots, they're very happy to just provide a body that moves for the vision
Right.
of the the director or the photographer. And when I get involved, I do have a creative sensibility, and I've always had a creative expression, whether it's through dance or whether it's through written word. I need to involve that in the production. And so for me, I'm very inspired by, as we build the concept, whether it is the fashion or whether it's the attitude of it, the story that we're building. And it was fun because usually, being a short-haired model that's 6 feet tall, that can sometimes have a bit of a muscular build if I've been in the gym, a little bit
Right, right.
rampantly. I build muscle. Usually I get those kinds of shoots and characters to portray that are very like vicious and very dominant, and the CEO or the dominatrix, the leather
Right.
clad hussy, that kind of shit. So for me it was really exciting actually to flip that script and go with a softer feeling. And I was just like thinking of Marilyn the whole time, and those bedroom eyes, and the
Right.
idea of that sort of breathless state of blushed and flushed. And so it was fun. I liked that. It was a new kind of character to step into for me.
Segueing into the next piece, I've seen you a couple times at a show and didn't know who you were, but you stand out so much because you're 6 feet tall, and you always dressed impeccably, and you just stand out. Is that a good thing for you or a bad thing? Does it make you uncomfortable, or you?
You and I were very close on the carpet just
Yeah,
recently at XBiz,
yeah,
and that it's a very tough job to do, especially when we're talking about red carpet coverage. I mean, I do
right.
all kinds of coverage. I'm on the expo floor, I'm attending live events, but yeah, I mean, being extremely tall is definitely something that can often get in the way of, say, other people's shot, other people's cameras. Does it pull attention? Yes, of course it does. And am I apologizing for it? Never. But yeah, it also makes it easy if I'm, say, trying to pin down a model in the middle of a crazy convention floor. I say, I'm 6 feet tall and my hand is in the air. Can you find me? And they usually do.
You mentioned the Expos red carpet. For you, when you do those type of things, do you have a set list of questions in your head, or does it go by? I think you're working for Naked News at that show.
Yeah.
Do you have an
Yeah.
outline of questions they want you to ask, or do you just kind of go with the flow?
So I've done all kinds of red carpet coverage, whether it's adult conventions, whether it's film festivals,
Right, right,
whether
right.
it's some kind of offshot awards. And every time I go into a red carpet scenario and I know that I'm going to be rapid fire with face after face after face after face, I always want to have an idea of what I'm asking them. So I want to be excited about it. I want to make sure that there's multiple follow ups, but I also want it to be original from what anyone else on the carpet is asking. For me, I do my research. I like to know who's up for awards. I like to know a little bit about what the last
Right.
year in their career has looked like, but I want to have fun. And I think that's why we watch red carpet coverage as a society, is that we want to see these people that we know loosely through Getty Images or on TV. We want to see them in the moment in real life. So just this past XBiz, I had such a fun time asking people, what were you listening to getting ready today? And of course, I covered a bunch of other phenomenal
Right,
career
right,
questions, but
right.
I always try and put a fun one in there that gets to that humanity, because that to me is what I'm interested in.
You saw what happened with Hugh Grant at the Oscars on the red
Pardon
carpet.
me?
You said you heard what happened to Hugh Grant on the red carpet at the Oscars with the
What
interview.
happened? What
He did an
happened?
interview with the girl for, I want to say, ABC TV,
Uh,
and from my perspective, he's a British thespian actor, and she was asking American clickbait questions, for lack of a better
Ugh.
thing,
Yeah.
and it didn't go over well. And
Mm.
everybody was bashing Hugh because why are you being an asshole? Excuse
Yeah.
my language, but and
Yeah.
she asked him like, so whose tuxedo are you wearing? He's like, mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like I saw her point of view. You could see the interview. You probably had the same thing. I do interviews too that are a train wreck. So for me, I just try and gracefully bow out. You see, it's not going
Absolutely.
anywhere, and you just get out. But
Yeah,
they just seem to
absolutely.
keep it going and
Oh,
going and going. And it was
yeah.
like, yeah, I understood her point. She wasn't there. No disrespect to her. She's
Yeah.
never done that type of red carpet. She was way out of her element, for lack of a better. She just had a lot of experience, you could tell.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen, I mean, I was watching the Oscars this year
Yeah,
because for me, growing up as a young person, my favorite thing, I was obsessed with the Oscars was the red
yeah,
carpet interviews. That's what I'm
yeah,
obsessed with. I watch it
yeah.
from the beginning, like coverage in New York starts at 3 p.m. Eastern. I watch it
Right,
from 3 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. when the
right.
awards are on. And I saw a couple of really unfortunate instances as well. And I mean, I think that it's a very accident prone
Yes,
kind of coverage because everything is so
it's
in the
live.
moment. but
It's live.
but for me, yeah, for me, one of the most unfortunate things I kept seeing was we wanted to stay, or the anchors wanted to stay so celebratory, and I
Right.
know that that's a big part of it. But when you
Yeah.
have Colin Farrell in front of you and you're asking him, hey, everyone loved Banshees of Inisherin, did you love Banshees of Inisherin? What the fuck do you think he's gonna say? Is he just gonna drop a bomb and say I
Yeah.
hated it? Like,
Right.
no. Like, waste of
Well,
a question.
she did the same thing. She mentioned a movie, I think it was Glass Onion that he was in.
Yeah.
And his response was, I was in it for 3 seconds. And that
Yeah.
was just like, now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, people pull some really risky shit on the carpet. There was another anchor, I don't remember what network, but they introduced Kate Hudson stepping up into
Yeah.
their booth, and they said, Academy Award winner Kate Hudson, you know what it's like to win an Academy Award. And she just said, no, I don't. I've never won an Academy Award. And it's those little risks you
Yeah,
take that
absolutely.
sometimes, it can be
Yeah.
so cringeworthy. Oh.
Yes. Uh, Getting back to your appearance here at the New York Sex Museum on April 5th, promoting your cover in Centerfold.
Yes.
Excited? You do a lot of stuff. Is that your first one for that? Is
I've done a number of projects with the Museum of Sex, and they seemed like the most ideal fit. They are such a well-known and necessary institution, both in New York but in this country as well. I think we need to have more centers for sexual education, and this is a great one. They make it very digestible to get a really great association with sexuality experienced. And I've never done a signing event for one of my magazines. I've done them virtually. So I've let, my subscribers have the chance to buy a signed copy, maybe include some 8x10s, but I've never done a live and in-person one. And this is the day before my birthday. So I'm very excited to kind of have this early birthday party
right.
at the Museum of Sex and to sign these gorgeous magazine covers.
Have you been, is it me? Am I just stupid, or have you been like really blowing up lately? Visibility
I've been
wise.
I've been doing a lot lately, and it's been a couple of years of push. The
Right.
pandemic was challenging for so many people that have jobs outside of the virtual realm, like in
Right.
person. And for me, I decided it was going to be my time to take charge and get involved in a lot of different projects, whether it's podcasting, whether
Right.
it's leading some new YouTube series. I mean, I have this long history producing content for Naked News, and I was given full freedom to create the kinds of series and coverage that I wanted with them. So it really gave me like a confidence to want to go out and just tell the stories I want to tell and get involved and hands-on with the projects I wanted to do. So I spent a lot of time virtually networking over the pandemic. And yeah, I mean, I've been a very eager beaver, and maybe one day they'll say, let's just give her a damn show on late night TV. That's the dream.
You mentioned content for Naked News. Can you clarify something for people? Are people naked all the time when you're doing segments like that? Like when you've done segments yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the
Naked.
misconception?
Well, it's funny because some people that are extremely highbrow, I tell them that, I produce for Naked News, and they go, "Ooh, is that some kind of ultra liberal? We tell the truth and
Right.
only the truth." Well, they think naked, and they're like, "Oh God, it's the rawness of
Right.
journalism." It's naked. It's physically naked reporting, and it's
Right.
based in Toronto. Both Toronto and New York City, you can be legally topless on the streets. So in public, I would do a lot of reporting reporting, whether it's asking people on the spot questions on the street, whether it's building my own stories around
Yeah,
like just how porous New York City is with all of these subway tunnels and all of these, what
right,
happens if a giant rainstorm comes? You know, that kind of shit
right.
has been reported on by me. And so, yeah, I'm naked as I can be. And usually the guest, if they are in the adult industry, they join me naked. For the most part, they're fully clothed.
And when you do interviews yourself, or we kind of just touched on it, but when you do segments, are you looking more for personality or for that shock value of that quick 30-second bite?
You know what? That's a really great dilemma, because as much as I'm looking for the full story and the journey, we know that what's really doing well these days in any kind of content creation is very tightly packaged sound bites. We're seeing it in the popularity of platforms like TikTok, and we
Right,
want everything to be YouTube Shorts is a new explosion. People want content that's like under a minute. So I try and do both. I try and get so many sound bites out of one piece of coverage that we could drop multiple pieces of it on different platforms to really get a groundswell and a buzz going. But I will always, until the end of time, want everything we talk about to be substance driven. And, you know, obviously, when I was with Naked News, I have a producer above me that does want the content to remain playful and positive and flirtatious to a certain degree. So I'm comfortable doing that, but I started to feel a little bit limited, especially with some of the conversations I wanted to have. They don't always stay in the happy realm. I like to hear someone's full story. And if there is
right,
something that's a challenging detail, God, I've got a journalist heart and I want to poke it just a little bit, you know?
right. You as a brand, is it more important for you to get your personality across or the fact that you're a woman, a jack of all trades, for lack of a better word?
Uh, is that the point of, do I consider that when I'm leading content? Is that something that I try
For,
and,
for your brand in general, if I hear your name, do I
yeah.
want you, are you hoping to get across to me that, oh, dude, she's 6 feet tall and she's stunning and she's sexy? Or, no, dude, she makes amazing content. She's a host of this and she's on the cover of this and she's in this and this
Yeah,
and this.
it's definitely, I spent many years seeing how far the, oh, she's sexy, she's 6 feet tall, she's got the longest legs in the world, and I enjoyed that ride. And it was magnificent. I mean, what club do you want to go to, and what VIP booth do you want to sit in? But that has kind of reached a limit for me. I'm more excited about the integrity in my content and my
Right.
hosting and the places that I can go in being the bridge for some of these challenging conversations and realities of sexuality in our world today. I'm noticing that there's a general public interest. You open up Netflix, we've got more series talking about sex than ever before. So, how do we keep this conversation going? I would love to be a part of that.
We touched on your podcast, and my writing is blurry, but can you tell me about your podcast?
Absolutely. So I have a podcast with the Cam4 radio network. Cam4 is obviously one of the lead live stream camming platforms based in Europe and in North America. And they've got this wing of safe for work content production and a radio network for podcasting. And so my show is called Licked and Loaded. And I like to host 1 hour interviews with people that I originally started talking to mostly content creators and adult stars, but then it branched off into people that lead the most unapologetic, pleasure seeking lives. Whether you're a comedian that's known for your potty mouth, whether you're a drag queen that's not afraid to talk about pleasure in your life, whether you're an author, an educator, an
Yeah.
expert in the realm of sexuality. I expanded it. And sometimes it does get a little bit blurry. It's like, what is this show really about? But you know, we always get really invigorating conversations. And so that it's been a joy and a pleasure, and I love doing it.
And you just started season 2 on that?
Oh, that we're talking about Red Umbrella talk then, aren't we? I see
Sorry,
where
I'm an
you're
idiot.
going. Oh, no, that's okay. I did lead a YouTube production that was entirely self-produced, independently by myself and the photographer of the Hustler cover, Ellen Stagg. We did a five-part series filmed at the Museum of Sex called Red Umbrella Talk, and the ambition was to take all the questions that I could get from the general public about sex work and the many professions within it, stripping, full service sex work, professional domination, porn, and then, of course, the laws and legalities across America that really restrict these jobs to be done.
Right.
I wanted to get these questions answered. So I sat down with two experts in each of those fields to bring these questions to. And we put it out on YouTube and it's still available there today. All you have to do is check Red Umbrella Talk. And season two, we are certainly gearing up for, and we're looking forward to bringing some different themes into these episodes. I want to talk about the trans sex work experience. I want to learn about it. I want to learn about um, uh, aging and demystifying aging in adult content creation. You know, individuals like Vanessa Del Rio and Nina Hartley are just icons, and I would love to have them answer questions about it. I want to talk about the medical world and how medical services and practices are able to support the sex work industry and how that navigates. I mean, how do we do it in a country that's just so gung ho for impossibly expensive healthcare and keeping the lives of sex workers down? And I hate to sound so grim about it, but unfortunately, there's some really tough realities we live within right now.
Absolutely. How did you meet Ellen?
Ellen, I met Ellen I met Ellen through Instagram because I had seen her pictures constantly showing up in my feed, and she seemed to be getting closer and closer and closer to me, so to speak, by the people she was shooting for other features, whether it was a trade for content for her website or whether it was other Hustler editions. She was getting closer in my network to people that I knew and loved so well that I said, it's about time. We got to make the outreach and just get this going. And we've known each other for about 2.5 years now. So it's still, it's still new, but we've got some
Yeah.
great memories in our story, and we've shot a lot. We have shot a lot and just championed a lot of projects together. So it was an Instagram DM situation, but one of the better ones for sure.
Your first shoot, was that a full figure modeling shoot? Was that just like a fashion thing and then you get comfortable and you remove more and more clothing? Or how does all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
work?
Yeah, I mean, anytime my first shoot with Ellen was a simple content. I think we ended up proposing it to Taboo magazine, and we ended up getting the cover of Taboo. And Ellen's got a really great approach to it because not only does she give an enormous amount of feedback in the moment, but there's no rush. Ellen's not a photographer that's like, okay, I've done the lingerie, start getting naked, spread for me now, because Hustler
Right,
does ask for a full spread, and that's absolutely, you go in
right.
knowing what you're gonna shoot. But no, I think all of it's appreciated. The lingerie is captured beautifully, and even little moments like the strap sliding off the shoulder, something that you would think is such a small moment of fantasy and intimacy is definitely acknowledged by her, and I love that.
You as a woman and an artist, what is a good photo you? Is it technically perfect? Is it something you look at repeatedly because you think you missed something?
What is a good what?
Photo, good image.
Oh, a good image has an instant impact to me. I mean, I look at the work of like Helmut Newton.
Right,
We're looking at extremely stark black and white images, and there's such incredible expression in
right,
those pictures. I mean, I need to feel an intensity. It's the same thing I look for in a lover. I'm like, I need to feel that intensity, that there's something going on between us. I want to be interacted with on mental levels, and
right.
I want to question what this scenario is. I want to imagine what happened seconds before it and seconds after it. That's what grabs me. I mean, if I don't feel that intensity in an image, I'm usually not looking at it for too long.
Where are you from originally?
Originally from Toronto, Canadian girl, but dual citizen. So I live now in New York City, and it's a very short flight if I feel like going home and visiting family. So,
Did,
East Coast.
did you go to a public school, private school when you were growing up?
I grew up and went to public school. I was a public school girl the whole way through, and my graduating year, I was valedictorian. So I already felt a grand sense of leadership, and I remember making that speech and telling everyone the wonderful things I was going to do with my life. And sure, they have skewed slightly, but I think I was always ready for adventure.
In grade school, do you have a favorite subject?
English. I'm a big reader, so anytime a book assignment came out, I love that. I'm a huge writer. I've been journaling since I was a child. I love pen to paper. It's a certain and special kind of meditation to just do that. I mean, sometimes I try and type it out, but I really like writing.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was always English. Never a science and math girl, never struggled immensely in those departments.
I know you're really young at that point. Do you have any idea what you want to do with the rest of your life at that point when you were in grade school?
I loved movies. When I was very little, I made a very loud cry to the universe. And I said, no woman has ever won the Oscar for Best Director, because no one had at that time. And I said, I wanted to be the first woman to win the Oscar for Best Director. And I must have been, 12. And of course, famously, it's been won, and it was done by Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker, a movie so void of femininity it breaks my heart that's what the
Right.
first female director has won for. Oh, but yeah, I always had giant ambitions. I knew that.
In high school, were you a popular girl, a loner, a geek, a nerd?
In high school, I was a drama kid, and annoyingly so. I had pierced my face in a number of different places. I seemed to be very sweaty at all times, and I was very tall. I was. I was, 6 feet at about 13. So I was always very tall. Everyone wanted me to be in sports. I was very goofy. I've always been quite goofy. And the theater department drama is what really kept me active and, dictated my friend group in high school.
Well, we ask everybody, but were you ever bullied in high school or in grade school?
Bullied. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Really?
Oh my goodness.
I
So
figured people
my
would be
I'm
terrified of you.
listen, I'm an identical twin, and I remember very, very powerfully the years after 9/11. And I'm an identical twin, and I remember kids would make paper airplanes and throw them at us and say it's the twin towers, get the twin towers, because we were so tall and so lanky and had all of these limbs moving around. And kids are awful, they're gross, they're mean. I also grew up with virtually no curves, right as women start
Yeah,
developing or young women start developing. That never happened for me in high school, and it took a lot longer for that to
yeah.
blossom. So there was so much commentary about where's your ass, where are your tits, the stuff that just makes you feel awful about existing.